Every snap is an interview.
After the Snap.
What a snap.
Hey, keep your mouth shut, 50!
I lead by example.
With Blake and Reed Ferguson, discussing life in, out, and after football.
To be able to leave walking away with a degree and a championship, it couldn't be any better.
Yeah!
Well, you can take this boy out the real south on but you can't take the real south out of my voice. And now here we go again, twist a little bit deeper because I got thick skin.
Welcome back to another episode of After the Snap. I'm your co-host, Reed Ferguson, long snapper for the Buffalo Bills, joined by co-host and brother, Blake Ferguson, long snapper for Miami Dolphins, back from his hiatus in Peru. Blake, I can't wait to hear about your trip. But I have a question, a lead-in question. Before you talk about your trip to Peru, there was a lot. What was the flight time down there and back? How long were you on a plane to and from?
Hola, me llamo Blake. No, it was like 6 hours and 45 minutes down there.
Okay.
But it was
not terrible.
But it was overnight. So it was like 11:30 p.m. to like 5:15 a.m. So it was
okay.
I just slept the whole time.
Did you change time zones?
It's like 1 hour difference. It's like central time.
Forward? Oh, central
no, it's
time.
back. It's like central time. It's whatever time zone you're on right now. It's the same. Yeah, it's not a
central
huge
time
difference.
otherwise known as the Lord's time.
Or like the most difficult time to understand, because everybody says 8-7 Central, and you think that the cartoons are coming on an hour earlier on Central Time when they're not actually coming on at an hour earlier. It's just a time difference. Am I the only one that like grew up thinking that everybody on Central Time got to watch the cartoons?
Central.
Yeah, but like I didn't realize that it was like an hour off when I was 8 years old.
Well, now you're like grown.
Yeah, I'm just saying it's like the most difficult time zone to understand. So why would it be called God's time zone or whatever you call it? I don't know.
Because everybody who lives in the Central Time Zone, most people who live in the Central Time Zone, a la the Ferguson family, as of recently, people think the Central Time Zone is the best because of a lot of it has to do with TV schedule, sports scheduling.
Because you get the best of both worlds.
Games come on earlier, the whole 9 yards.
Pac-12 after dark is more like...
You're not going to sleep first in the country.
Pac-12 after dark is like Pac-12 like sundown.
Pac-12 dessert time.
Yeah.
Like after dinner.
Pac-12 glass of wine.
Yep, glass of wine. Pac-12 glass of wine. We have to pitch that to them and see if they pick that up. Okay, so a shade below 7 hours flight time.
Slept the whole time.
Okay. Yep. All right. Well, that you just ruined. You just ruined my question. I was going to ask you if you I sleep on airplanes. I love sleeping on airplanes. I came home a couple times from Buffalo to Houston in the off season. And I'm still catching up on Vikings in season 6 now, I think, crushing it. But I would watch episodes, like a couple episodes on each flight, each layover. So you didn't watch anything?
No Stranger Things for your boy.
You slept the whole time. I was going to ask you about Stranger Things, the 4th season.
So here's the deal. My flight to Peru was out of Atlanta. I was coming from South Florida. I was down in Miami. We had finished OTAs on Friday. This is Friday the 10th. And I'm trying to get out of town, right? I'm trying to connect in Atlanta with the missions team from the church.
Okay.
In Atlanta.
So you had to meet
and then fly to Lima.
Okay.
I could have gone out of Miami, but I would have gotten there like 8 hours before them, and it would have been like a whole mess, like overnight trying to figure out a hotel in a foreign country that I've never been to. So I was like, I'm just going to meet up with them in Atlanta and we'll all go together.
Could have handled it.
Going out of my way, but it was fine. So that particular day, there's a storm over South Florida.
Of course.
Naturally.
Of course.
And I've flown just about every weekend out of South Florida to Atlanta or Denver or wherever, and I haven't had a single delay all of spring. But the second that I have an international connection, of course, there is a storm that causes
on a prepaid mission trip,
causes a 4.5 hour delay. We literally took off at the last possible time for me to make my connection in Atlanta and still get to Peru. It all worked out.
Okay.
But by that point in time, when I got on the flight to Lima from Atlanta, I was so exhausted and like stressed and just like mentally, I sat there for 4 hours, like hoping that I was going to be able to get to Atlanta for my connection.
What was the time that you, like, what was your original flight scheduled for?
Well, it was scheduled out of Miami.
Right.
And I got
at what time?
At like 8 something.
8 a.m.
8 p.m. It was scheduled out of Miami at like 8 p.m. I would have gotten into Atlanta at like 9:30, like 2 hours before we were supposed to go out of Atlanta to Lima. So it was gonna be fine.
Okay.
I get a message at like 2:00 p.m. that my flight had been delayed already, like 6 hours before the actual flight was supposed to take place. Weather was moving in and it was going to delay to the point where I was already going to miss my connection. So I had to drive up to Palm Beach, like an hour and a half north of where I live.
Oh no.
Drove up to Palm Beach, took a flight out of Palm Beach that was at like 4 something, because I knew if I took like the 4:00 flight, I would have enough time, even if there was a delay, that I would be able to get into Atlanta before the connection.
Yep.
And so I get up there and when I tell you, I sat in the terminal at the gate for 4 hours watching this just delay every 30 minutes. And there's like you can't even see the planes outside. It is storming so bad.
Oh no.
Finally, there was like a little short window of time where they were able to get us out of there at like 8:45. And I was able to get in, make my connection. They got my bag on the plane and it worked out. But man, it was close. It was super close. And so by the time, like I say all that to say, by the time I got on the flight, I didn't want to do anything but just crash and fall asleep and wake up in a different country.
Wow.
So
did you are you like a Ambien guy?
No, I don't have, it doesn't take much. It doesn't take much on planes. Yeah, I was in like because it was an international flight, the Delta seats are a little bit different. And I had gotten upgraded to like one of the first class seats. It wasn't like the Delta One where you could like lay down flat. Those are super nice. But it was like what would normally be a Delta first class seat. And so I had like room. I was able to lay back more than I normally would. They gave you like the nice memory foam pillow, a blanket, and I was zonked because I had an OTA. I had an OTA that day, and then flew and had all the delays and all that stuff. So I was exhausted. So we wake up in Peru, and then we have so it's 5:15 in the morning, and we have a noon flight to Cusco, which is where we were for the majority of the week. So we have 7 hours to kill in the airport. So we go get breakfast, we go get coffee at this little coffee shop in the airport. We were, playing.
Nice airport?
Yeah, I mean, it was okay. They're super strict on their COVID rules still down there, because Peru since COVID started, Peru has the highest death rate of any country in the world.
Oh, wow.
There was a time where they had like 8 ventilators for like the whole country. And so the airport, like they made you double mask. They had like glass dividers in between every seat in the airport, like all of the seats at every gate. They had like plexiglass dividers. And so that we took a lot of walks around the airport, just to get some quote unquote fresh air. But the biggest thing that I noticed about the Peru in general, specifically the airport, is the toilet paper. You have to get the toilet paper before you go into the stall. There is a roll of toilet paper. I will tweet the picture from the podcast account. There is a roll of toilet paper on the wall, like between the urinals and the stalls, and you have to like get some out and take it into the stall with you.
You're kidding.
And then you can't flush it. You can't flush. There's like a trash can because there's sewage or whatever. There's like a trash can that you have to like toss in.
Israel.
It was
the same
wild.
thing in Israel. Yep.
Wild. So just a lot of experiences in the airport that are currently distracting us from how amazing the actual trip was. But
did they have like the two flush system, like the small flush?
Some places
and the big flush.
Some places did. Yeah.
Okay.
But
Israel was pretty strict about that.
Okay.
They were
like the water usage.
Press the right button.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I don't. I think that was probably more a result of like the climate that you were in and how hard it is probably to get clean water there, or like flushable water.
Yeah.
In Lima and in Cusco, there is water. It's not safe to drink the water, but there's like water in the showers and toilets and stuff. Okay. The trip was amazing. We get to Cusco, we go and we did a bunch of VBS, Vacation Bible School for some kids. We did that on several different days. There was a day that we went to an orphanage there in Peru. And the lady who runs the orphanage is from America. She and her husband moved down there. He owns an optometry clinic. She runs the orphanage. His optometry clinic pretty much fully funds this orphanage. They're like completely privately funded. Apparently there's like a bunch of hurdles you have to jump through if you are government funded orphanage. So they prefer the private funding donations from the clinic and from others that they get donations from. So we spent some time there hanging out with the kids, and we were repainting the outside of the actual building. So that was fun. And then the coolest part, in my opinion, as far as like mission work that we were doing, was one day, I think it was Tuesday, we went up to, into the Peruvian mountains, like an hour and a half from Cusco, to this little remote village of probably 200 people. And we just like went on evangelism walks and just like told people about Jesus. And it was amazing. The coolest part about it was those people don't speak English and they don't speak Spanish. They speak a language, a dialect called Quechuan. And not many people in the country of Peru speak Quechuan. So
I can't say I've ever heard of that language.
And I hadn't either until we got there.
Wow.
And so what we had to do in order to talk to these people, we had to have two translators with us. We had to have a translator that understood English and Spanish, took our English to Spanish, would speak Spanish to the Quechuan translator, who would take it from Spanish to Quechuan, speak it in Quechuan to the person, and then all the way back to English through the two translators. So it was literally like you're playing telephone. But people were coming to Christ on this mountain through two translators. Through three languages, two translators. It was one of the coolest things I've ever seen.
Incredible.
On that mountain, there's very little civilization, as you could probably imagine. the bathrooms were a hole in the ground. I went in this lady's kitchen and she was cooking on a mud stove with mud floors and wood like holding up the ceilings, like wood posts holding up the ceilings. And it was just it was a great perspective of how joyful these people are regardless of their situation. Like they don't know any different, but for us, seeing both sides of it, it was incredible to see how joyful that they are given how hard their life is. But to them, it's not that difficult because they don't understand, like there's no other side. Like they don't have any perspective on what life is like elsewhere. And so, but it was really, really cool to see what the Lord was able to do in that country just through two translators playing telephone. That was really one of the coolest things I've ever experienced. There's one story that I do want to share from that particular trip, up into the mountain. So we were staying in Cusco, and that day we knew we were going up there. And so I packed an extra t-shirt and I packed an extra pair of socks in my backpack. And I had like a jar of peanut butter and just like some extra things that, you might need with you when you're 2 hours away from any kind of civilization up in the mountains for the entire day. So we get up there and we're on this walk, and there's like a bus stop where people are waiting to like go to the next town further up the mountain, like 30 minutes. And we stop and we're talking to this girl at the bench of the bus stop. And she's, we're just kind of sharing what we're doing there and things like that with her. And while we're talking to her, there's another guy. He's probably 60 plus years old. He was sitting there on the bench, like asleep. He wasn't with her. He was just sitting there asleep, waiting on the bus. And I looked down and his feet looked nasty. Like he was wearing sandals. So he didn't have any socks on, didn't have any shoes. It was just like sandals. And he'd been walking through this very dry mountain, dusty climate, and his feet were just nasty. And so we didn't bother him. He was sleeping. And so we just like kind of went away and we were talking to somebody else. And one of the girls in our group, she was like, she asked us, she was like, do y'all think it would be weird if I like gave him my socks? And I thought about it and I was like, I have an extra pair of socks in my backpack. And I don't know, at the time, I didn't know why I put those socks in my backpack because that was the first day that I had done that. But at that point in time, I knew exactly why I put those socks in there.
Crazy.
Because the Lord was working an opportunity for us to wake that man up, give him some socks, and share our faith with him. And I hope that he ended up making it to the church that we were partnering with. But that was a really cool moment of like, I don't know. I had no idea why I stuck that pair of socks in my backpack because I knew I wasn't going to really need them. I had a pair of socks on my feet, but somebody else needed those socks. And so that was a pretty cool moment of just like God working things out and having it all mapped out in advance. The last two things that I'll share on the Peru trip before we get into some sports updates. We went the next day to Machu Picchu, which is one of the 7 new wonders of the world.
Okay, I was gonna say you when you said you were going there, like the day prior, I've heard of Machu Picchu before, but I don't know what it is. I think that's probably the only a city. Yeah,
it's an Inca civilization that they built in the Peruvian mountains.
Okay, I probably wouldn't have thought. I recognized the name. I don't think I knew it was in Peru.
Yeah. So it was built several hundred years ago, long before like the Spaniards came into Peru into South America and sort of took over. But we woke up at 4 a.m. It was on Wednesday. Woke up at 4 a.m, took a 2-hour bus ride to a train station where we then took an hour and 45-minute train ride to basically the base of this mountain where Machu Picchu is. And then
I'm looking on a map. Where is Machu Picchu compared to where Cusco is? North?
I have no idea. I just know that it's 3 hours and 45 minutes from where we were staying.
Okay. I'm trying to look it up as we speak.
Yeah. So then we get to the base of the mountain, and we have to go up into the mountain to Machu Picchu. But the roads on this mountain are dirt roads, and they're just wider than the bus that we were on. And not only do you take the bus up, you also have to take the bus back down. And so navigating a two-way buses going up and down this mountain that on a road that is barely wider than the width of the bus that we were on was horrifying.
So wait, so you said you were in Cusco.
Correct.
Cusco.
Correct. Cusco.
And you went to Machu
from
Picchu?
Emperor's New Groove. Yes, Machu Picchu. Long way away.
And it took you how far? How long?
It was a 2-hour bus ride to the train station. And then the train took us an hour and 45 minutes to get to the base of the mountain that Machu Picchu is on. There's a little town down there.
It does not look that far away.
It took so long.
Look it up on a map when you're done. That's correct. I had to say that.
It took so long.
That is bananas.
Yeah.
Okay. Anyway, continue with your story.
And so the buses, there's a bus coming down and a bus going up, and you have to navigate this very, very narrow road with no guardrails. I was
going around a mountain.
I was in the window seat and I was like, I'm gonna die here. Mind you, so in Cusco, you're at 10,000 feet of elevation. On this mountain, you're at almost 13,000 feet.
You're halfway up Mount Everest.
Yeah. You're looking down.
That's high, dude.
You're looking down. I'm going to show it I'm going to show it just so the people who are watching the YouTube episode can see truly how high we were up on this mountain.
Mount Everest is 29,000 feet.
You
were almost halfway up Mount Everest.
This is how far up we were. And it's crazy because those other mountains, off in the distance,
nuts.
Are at 20,000 feet. They're way above where we are.
No way.
It was wild. And so then it was that was probably 30, 40-minute bus ride up the mountain. And then we went into Machu Picchu. It was probably 25-minute hike into the actual civilization area where they had built this city. But it was one of the most amazing things I've ever laid eyes on. For these people to have been able to do this that long ago was amazing. And they call it one of the 7 new wonders of the world.
Okay.
I'm not sure exactly what the difference is between the 7 wonders of the world and 7 new wonders of the world, but that's the distinction. And I got to meet an alpaca. That was really freaking cool. I went to Peru with 2 goals. One of which was I wanted to meet a llama or an alpaca at some point, and I did. We were in downtown Cusco. I didn't get to meet it at Machu Picchu, although they do have them there. And I got to meet 2 baby alpacas.
Were they bigger than you?
They were no.
Oh my goodness.
They were like Jasper size.
I was about to say they look like
they were like my dog size, and they were the softest thing, dude. Softest thing ever. I really wish I had bought like an alpaca, like something made out of alpaca,
like a scarf or something,
like a blanket or something.
Yeah.
I'm not big on scarves, but I would definitely wear an alpaca scarf. One of the guys on the trip was like, I want to find an alpaca bath mat, because how can your day get any better? Or like you can't have a bad day when you get out of the shower onto an alpaca bath mat. It's just like heaven under your toes. So that was my trip to Peru.
Probably not the first thing I would have thought of.
Phenomenal. Yeah, I don't think he found an alpaca bath mat. Although there were like,
they sell them.
We went to like these markets and they had just about every kind of textile that you could imagine made out of alpaca.
Oh wow.
But it was so
a cool are trip. Alpaca, they're like deer here? Are they like that?
They populated? Eat alpaca. I don't know that they're like an invasive species, but they eat alpaca. They also, I didn't put this in the notes, but they also eat guinea pig.
I remember you saying that.
And
I wish you hadn't told me that.
Yeah. It's like it's like a delicacy there.
Of course.
Naturally. And the best way I would equate it, like consistency wise, like food wise, is like dark meat chicken.
Like a chicken thigh.
But if you like put it in the garbage for like 2 weeks, it was probably the worst food I've ever put in my mouth.
Oh, yikes.
Yeah, not great. Not great. But some people like it, and that's okay. Let me frame it this way. There are very few foods that I do not like. Guinea pig is one of them. It's like cilantro, olives, and guinea pig. But it was, not great. So, but the trip was great. We had a great time. I believe it is now time.
That was a great story, by the way.
Oh, well, I appreciate that. I'm sure our listeners are ready for us to get into some sports. Hopefully you enjoyed my Peru recap, because it was an unbelievable week.
So last week, Chris and I recorded, and he was very adamant after the first couple games of the Stanley Cup that we talk about his predictions and what he talked about last week. The Colorado Avalanche are 2-1 over Tampa Bay. Chris said this is Tampa Bay's third Stanley Cup final appearance in a row. And he said the Avalanche would have the dudes to go toe-to-toe with them. So, and I think the Avalanche won game 2 7-0. I believe that is correct. I watched some. I haven't really watched a ton of the NHL playoffs up until this point, but I have watched a portion of each finals game thus far. So it's 2-1. I mean, playoff hockey is awesome. I can't wait till the Sabres going to a playoff game in Buffalo would be for the Sabres would be awesome.
There are a few things better than playoff hockey.
You went to a Panthers game, right?
I've been the last 2 years, and I think I'm going to stop going because I clearly am not the good luck charm that they need. I've been to the 2 years ago, or I guess last year, I went, and it was the game in which they got knocked out of the playoffs. Not great. And then this year it was against Tampa. They were up 2 or 3-0. The Panthers were up 2 or 3-0 going into the third period and lost. So
was that also an elimination game?
No, I think it was like game 2. I think it was like game 2 of the series of the second round. But I think I'm not doing the Panthers any favors. So I think I'm just going to start going in the regular season, just kind of let that be.
Fair enough. Kudos to producer Chris. He will hear this in a little bit. Kudos to producer Chris on his expert hockey knowledge.
Yeah. Admittedly, I don't know much about hockey. I just learned the offside rule with the lines and stuff.
Yep.
But what I do know is when I was in Denver, a month ago, and they were just getting into the playoffs, the Stanley Cup playoffs, the Colorado Avalanche fans out there are wild. Back then they were we're winning the whole thing. Because where we were staying was pretty close to their arena, and so there were signs everywhere. The restaurants you go in, it's just Avalanche. Could not have been more pumped up about the Colorado Avalanche, and they're speaking it. They are walking the walk, talking the talk. 2-1. They just dropped game 3. Game 4 is Wednesday night. I guess that's tomorrow night. And that is in Tampa.
Yes.
But Avalanche are expected to win via Vegas. So I will be tuning in. I've been in Peru for the majority of the last couple of games, but definitely will be tuning in Wednesday night. I'm pumped.
Also over the weekend, I know you were coming back home and doing some traveling, but the U.S. Open.
This I did.
Were you able
to
catch
yes.
Saturday, Sunday?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
I watched almost every day as well.
Probably some of my favorite golf I have ever watched.
100%.
Ever.
100%. Is there anything? Well, I know we just talked about the NHL playoffs being extremely fascinating and exciting to watch, but is there anything? I mean, when a golf major is coming down on Sunday at 5 p.m. and there's
potential playoff, 3-way playoff.
And there's 2 groups, 3 to 4 guys in the running to win the tournament.
There's not much better.
That is must-watch television.
Yeah.
Must-watch television.
I said there's not much better than playoff hockey. This fits into that same group.
Yes.
Unbelievable. And what I didn't know is up until recently, I don't know what year it was. If we had producer Chris on today, he would be able to probably tell us. Up until recently, if they went into a playoff at the US Open, they would play an entire 18-hole round on Monday.
No way.
I swear.
I had no idea.
I had no idea either. But Martin and Dad were talking about it while we were sitting there watching it. And I think we are all losers because we didn't get to see that. That would have been as electric as Sunday was, Monday would have been even more electric. And I think we all lost out because of that, because there wasn't a tie that eventually would send it to Monday. They
changed it in 2018. I just looked it up.
2018. So just recently,
the 18-hole playoff format was scrapped in 2018 when the USGA switched to a 2-hole aggregate format, followed by sudden death if needed.
Yep. I thought so. Going into Sunday, Scotty Scheffler was my pick, and
number 1 in the world.
He started off hot. He was he bogeyed birdied the first four of the first 6 holes that he played, and I was
had a beautiful hole in. I think
was
on Saturday.
Yeah, he held out from 100 and something yards.
Yeah,
just cut the green and just rolled right.
Great backspin.
It was amazing, and I was going into Sunday. There's no way he's losing. He's got the hot hand. Through the first 9, phenomenal golf, and the back 9 just wasn't as good to him. Fitzpatrick,
pretty cool. He won
the braced king.
Yes,
got braces on his teeth,
braced
and
king.
just I mean,
he won the amateur.
Yes.
The amateur U.S. Open.
Yes.
Like 8 or 9 years ago, same course.
Oh, up in Boston, yeah.
First.
That's awesome.
First professional golfer, I think, to win the amateur, or to win an amateur and a PGA and a U.S. Open USGA Tour tournament on the same course. Pretty cool.
Amazing.
I mean, that's
Did you hear about his caddy? So if you're watching at the end of the round, his caddy was more emotional. His caddy was more emotional than he was. And
I saw it on 18. I saw him.
He's been caddying for like 40 years, and he has never won a major as a caddy.
No way.
And he got his first one.
That's incredible.
With Matthew Fitzpatrick. His client list includes a bunch of European names that I will probably butcher. Steve Ballesteros, Thomas Bjorn, Darren Clark, Lee Westwood, Sergio Garcia, and a short stint with Tiger Woods.
Wow.
But if you saw how emotional he was on Sunday, that was because it was his first major that he's ever won. And
it's incredible.
There's an article talking about what his post US Open plans are. And his quote says, "I have a liver like a football." So that should be a little bit of insight into what he's been up to the last two days.
48 hours. Wow. That's incredible. That's pretty
amazing.
Cool.
Amazing weekend of golf for sure.
One of my favorite things from watching the par threes, I thought were some of the coolest, just from the angles they were showing. And I mean, props to the guys. I guess that's why they're professionals. But some of the shots on some of those par threes, I mean, they were just peppering the hole.
Yeah,
peppering the hole.
Some unbelievable shots, specifically on Saturday and Sunday. There was one where I don't even know what hole it was on. John Rahm was like behind this hill. It was like a 20-foot hill in front of him. He was completely blind, trying to get up on the green from probably 100 and something yards. Puts it, I don't know, 20 feet from the hole. Wow. Couldn't even see the flag stick, couldn't see anything. Had no idea where he was hitting it. Had to solely rely on his notes to get him on the green. And it was one of the coolest shots I've ever seen, because they showed it from behind, and it was like him shooting, and it was just like this huge wall of grass in front of him.
Wow.
It was crazy. But some of those par threes were phenomenal too.
Yeah.
I was hoping we'd see a hole in one, but I don't think we got one.
Few and far between. So the last thing I wanted to talk about, and something I was absolutely thrilled to find out this week, World Cup venues.
Let's go.
Finally announced.
Let's go.
For the 2026 held in North America, meaning the U.S. I think gets. I think the U.S. got 10 or 12, 10
6,
cities.
7, 8, 9. Yeah, 10.
10 cities, and I think because there are 16 total.
Nope, it's 11. 11 in the U.S., 3 in Mexico, and 2 in Canada.
Okay, 16 total. Got it. So anyway, the obviously super pumped. Some of the notable ones, obviously New York, New Jersey area for MetLife. That was always going to be a major point, attraction point for the World Cup. The San Francisco area, which is interesting. We'll get into that in a few minutes, why LA wasn't a consideration. Miami, Atlanta, Houston, and Dallas, which was surprising to me. I thought they would just go for one or the other. And then Boston made the list. So I think Philly's on there, and a couple. Seattle made the cut. One of the things obviously we are down here in Houston. We'll likely be down here in Houston when this rolls around. So I'm going to try to obviously make as many games as possible over the summer, and try to. I mean it's the last time it was in North America was the year I was born in '94. So
I don't think you went to any of those games.
Don't think I went to any of those games, but this is potentially. I'm not going to say once in a lifetime, but you don't know when it's going to come around again, and when you're going to have a great opportunity to try and go to a bunch of games like we're hoping to. So,
yeah.
I'm obviously thrilled about Houston, Atlanta. Been to those stadiums. The one thing I think is going to be interesting, and I think it was a big point of contention for choosing a lot of these stadiums, is the issue of turf.
Yeah.
Of having
the
turf,
surface.
the surface, the playing surface, because if you look around European football and basically anywhere outside the U.S., the game is not played on turf. We're pretty much the only country who has a league that plays on turf.
I think it was 2018 when the MLS All-Star game came to Atlanta. Yep. And Zlatan Ibrahimovic opted to not play in it because of the surface.
Because of the turf.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was against it was against Juventus. It was they do the All-Star game against a big club team. And I don't remember hearing a lot of flack from Juventus just because I think it was like an off-season game for them. It was just
they played like their B team.
Yeah. I think they had Miralem Pjanic and like 2 or 3 others. Emre Can when he was still there.
Dybala.
I don't even know if Dybala played. Anyway, it was before Cristiano came there, and that was a big sticking point for Ibra, was because of the turf. And now it looks like half. I was running through it earlier. Looks like half of the stadiums, even in Canada, are the Toronto and Vancouver surfaces?
I don't think so.
Turf?
Because those are both open air. They're both open air stadiums, so they could be grass.
But are they football stadiums though? Is it for like Canadian Football League? Is it for
Vancouver and Toronto? Wait, what did you say the other one was?
Toronto and Vancouver.
Toronto and Vancouver both have. I know Vancouver's. The stadium that the Whitecaps play in is pretty big.
Okay.
I'm not BMO Field in Toronto, where Toronto FC plays. It's a smaller soccer stadium. I don't know how many it fits, but I'm assuming that's where they're going to play. Yeah. I don't know if it's grass or not. I've never been.
Yeah.
But I was wondering. I think they've got to change them. Like they've got to put grass in these stadiums.
We're talking Atlanta, Dallas.
The ball plays differently.
Atlanta, Dallas, Houston, LA, which is a confirmed city, which we'll get into here in a second.
LA is confirmed.
LA is confirmed.
Okay, I missed that.
LA is confirmed. There are the issues of the stadium dimensions.
That's what I was
SoFi.
Going to bring up.
Yeah.
Yes.
We'll talk about that in a second.
I don't know where they're playing in LA though.
New York. MetLife has turf.
Notable.
Is San Francisco
ACL
grass?
Injuries in MetLife.
Is San Francisco grass? I can't even remember. We played there 2 years ago.
Yeah, it's outside. Yeah.
Well, it's outside.
Well, it's outside, but it's
turf or is it grass?
I believe.
Okay. And then Seattle is turf. Turf. So yes. Atlanta, Dallas, Houston, LA, if they play at SoFi, New York, and Seattle. That's 6 of the 16 assuming that the Toronto and Vancouver ones are grass.
I think the Mexico ones are grass.
Mexico would have to be grass. I mean, that's a given. But the big sticking point with LA for a little while before these host cities were announced, LA being one of them, was that LA's dimensions of their stadium weren't going to allow for a regulation soccer field.
Bananas.
Football.
The owner of the team owns Arsenal. Literally, Stan Kroenke. He owns the Rams, and he owns Arsenal FC. Did it not dawn on him? It's like it's so bad to where I'm like they did it on purpose, or something. Like there's no way that nobody thought about this. The potential for I don't even know if the bid was. I don't think the bid had even been accepted.
So what was
for North America before that stadium was built?
What was the deal? Was there like a wall or like bleachers in the way of that was going to make it too hard?
Yeah, they have to remove a certain amount of rows on the sidelines going wide. I think the length is fine.
Okay.
But I think they would have to take out like I don't even know 5 or 6 rows of seats, and I think that's like the minimum.
I feel like that would be
like that's with like no like the players' seats would be like up against the stand.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So
yeah.
I don't know.
I feel like they'll figure that out. I'm sure it's just a simple math equation because you've got 4 years to do it, but it's a math equation of
$5 billion stadium.
Is the revenue
take seats out?
Is the revenue of having the games in LA were going to be more than enough to justify taking out however many rows of seats? And I feel like you can find some sort of contractor construction group that will get you under that number. Like you're going to make $1 gazillion playing these games. Like
I know I'm trying to look up and see where, Central West region, SoFi Stadium.
Yeah.
So that is bananas. That is crazy.
We should do something like go to
Gillette Stadium, Boston. That's turf. You said that.
Oh,
that's where they're playing.
Yeah. Did I say Boston? I don't. No, I didn't even count Boston. I didn't even count Boston in
Gillette. I mean, that's turf.
So that's another one. 7.
MetLife, Gillette, MetLife, AT&T, Mercedes-Benz.
You think they roll out some sod on top of this? Like the thing that I thought was coolest about when we played in London was the London fields at Tottenham at Hotspur Stadium. There's like levels.
Roll it out.
There's like levels, and they like shift these panels up and down for the grass and for the turf.
I remember watching them on TV. They did a little like
behind
the scenes.
They do like a time lapse video.
Yep.
But they're going to have to do something. These players are going to be ticked. These players are going to be ticked off if they're playing a majority of their games on turf.
You might have guys that sit out. That's what I'm saying. There's no way they have 4 years to figure it out.
You have
4 years. All right.
We should go to pod. Well, the last thing I was going to say is we should go to a game in Canada, in the United States, and in Mexico. Like
I'm pretty close.
Toronto. You're pretty close to Toronto and Buffalo too.
Yep.
So
yep,
we'll be staying at your house there, and we'll be staying at your house in
Toronto, Atlanta, Houston, and like Mexico City or something. I don't know where's Mexico. Let me look up.
It is not driving distance, guaranteed.
No. I know. I'm just saying Monterrey, Mexico City, and Guadalajara. Bear with me.
We're getting all kinds of geography tips today between Machu Picchu and Monterrey.
Okay, Monterrey would be the closest. Yep. Monterrey is like on the other side of the border. Guadalajara and Mexico City are like halfway down Mexico, like close, like as it starts to bottleneck. That's where the other two are. So we would definitely fly. But I think I would, if we're gonna fly anyway, gotta go to the Mexico City one. I think that's where the better stadium is.
Yeah.
But the Monterrey Stadium, I saw somebody, I think it was Bleacher Report Soccer or somebody, they posted a picture earlier of the stadium that Monterrey is going to play in. I don't know where it is. I'll have to look it up and maybe retweet it from the account. But it, like the backdrop of the stadium was like those like similar to those mountains that you showed in Peru, like just huge green mountains in the back of a football stadium.
Yeah.
Crazy cool. But,
let's make it happen.
All right, that's a wrap.
Ooh, Jinx, you owe me 10 push-ups. Thank you everybody for joining us this week. As always, follow us on social media at After the Snap Pod, at Blake Ferguson 50 Instagram, Blake Ferguson 44 Twitter. Somebody tweet at Instagram to let me change my username because I can't do that. At Reed Ferguson on Instagram, at SnapFlow69 on the Twitter sphere. Follow us on TikTok, follow us on YouTube, wherever you want After the Snap content, you will find it. See you next week. This has been After the Snap, tales from two brothers who live life upside down.